Hey guys, welcome back to All About Me, motivation, innovation, inspiration for you. My name is Tony Taylor. If we've never met before, thanks for taking time to watch this video. And for you that are frequent viewers and watch monthly, I thank you especially for continuing to watch these videos. And now I've been asked by a frequent viewer of when was my March video going to happen. I know in February I did my video very early. And if you remember it, for those of you that have seen it, I had hearts on the side, talked about some love, and I mentioned Benjamin Watson from the New Orleans Saints and some issues that he brought to national attention about like the Ferguson issue with it being a sin issue, not a skin issue. And I commented on that and I actually shared it with Benjamin Watson and he actually watched it. So that's actually pretty awesome. I was quite humbled to have that happen. But I'm going to name off a couple of my excuses that I can come up with for why my March video is taking so long. Number one, my nephew turned 1 year old. Come on. You know how cute that is when your nephew or your little one turns 1 year old and you got to be there for the smashing of the cake. Okay, my nephew didn't really smash the cake at all. He's a clean baby. He simply didn't like the cake or frosting. He looked at it and he started crying. So he doesn't like being dirty, at least not yet, I guess. I mean, as they grow older, they start rolling around in mud, right? I mean, I know I did. Anyway, let's not talk about me when I was one. Another excuse I will make is that Gina and I have been rearranging some things around the house, so the place I usually film is kind of occupied with other stuff and kind of storage. And while it's okay, I guess, for you to see my mess, I chose otherwise and didn't want to film there to show that all off. So that's another one. Number three, Gina and I are going on vacation next week. We are actually going to San Francisco. So we've been booking plane tickets, we've been trolley tickets, speeding tickets. Okay, we didn't get any speeding tickets, but tickets for Alcatraz and tickets for some other activities that we're doing out there that I had to purchase and get figured out. So that's taken up some of my time. And fourth, I was hoping to be able to finally get you a video before we left for vacation, and here we are, March 20th, 2015. You're getting what you wanted. You're getting your March video, and guess what? I thought I'd get this video out right before your bracket's busted, so here we... Too soon, isn't it? Your bracket's already busted. I know, so is mine. Iowa State, how could you? You're the comeback kids, I know. How many of you had Iowa State on your bracket win the first round? All of you, exactly. I know, it's crazy. Those darn Cyclones tore through everybody's bracket. Okay, we're moving on. So, with that, it kind of ties in with my theme of this message being March weakness. I know it's March Madness in college basketball right now, but I want to talk about March because it's March, and I want to talk about weakness. Now, but before I even touch on weakness, I want to talk about strength. I want to talk about strong. What makes you feel strong? Is it a big roof over your head? Is it like a nice house that you have that makes you feel secure, makes you feel strong? Is it your career? Is it that people have to report to you so you feel like you're a strong leader into whatever it is you're doing for your career? That people come to you, you don't have to go to anybody else, report to anybody else, people report to you. Is it that? Is it your bank account? I know sometimes people think if they've got they feel secure because they've got a lot of money in their account, they can take care of any problem that may come up just because they've got a few more dollar signs in their account than others. Think about it. Well, maybe it's something physical strength. How about that? How about strong with that? You maybe be able to work out a lot, drink the right supplements. I don't know. You might just feel strong all around, emotionally, physically, mentally. There's other ways to feel strong too. But there's a problem. When we're only dependent on our own strength, when we are dependent on the strength of ourselves, with all those things, what happens when all those chips fall? What happens if that roof that's over our head that's so luxurious caves in? What happens if that career where people are reporting to us falls through? What happens when we lose that job? What happens when we go to the doctor and hear a scary diagnosis? What happens in those situations? It's a question that I often think about as I read through devotionals and think about what happens when the chips fall and when you feel like you're such a strong individual. I think it comes back to knowing that we're not meant to go through this alone. We can't be reliant on ourselves. And I've talked about this before, about God must become greater and we must become less. And it's a little bit a theme on that. But even more so, I think there's so much with Stronger that gets twisted. I mean, I initially wanted to call this video actually Only the Weak Survive. You know, a take on Only the Strong Survive, but I thought with March Madness I'd change it to Mark Weakness. But Only the Strong Survive, you hear things like that. You hear, what doesn't kill you, that which makes you stronger, or whatever that case is. But I think weakness is something to be embraced. And I know that sounds crazy, but for me, I've realized the more in my walk of faith with God, the more weak I really become. And the more weak I become, the more reliant on God I can be. And that's where I find my strength. Because the fact of the matter is, the more weak we become, that's when we are actually strong. And I know that sounds so twisted, but you go through Bible verses and devotionals and your true walk with faith, you'll find out that the weaker we are, the more we are relying on God, like I said. And that's the most important thing we can do, because He has power that's infinitely greater than any power we could ever possess. I've been reading some devotionals on this stuff, and it's really stuck out to me about the power of weakness and how we can really just embrace our weakness. I think if we hear the word handicapped and we think, oh, I could never deal with that. I can't, with the things you'd love to do, if it was ever taken away from you, what would you do? And it makes me think of 2 Corinthians. It's a verse that I saved, and like I said, that hammers it home. It's 2 Corinthians 12, 7 through 10. This is the Message translation, so it kind of really wraps it all together and kind of gets it to a more relevant reading through. So it says, because of the extravagance of those revelations, and so I wouldn't get a big head, I was given the gift of a handicap to keep me in constant touch with my limitation. Satan's angel did his best to get me down. What he in fact did was push me to my knees. No danger then of walking around high and mighty. At first I didn't think of it as a gift and begged God to remove it. 3 times I did that, and then He told me, my grace is enough. It's all you need. My strength comes into its own in your weakness. Once I heard that, I was glad to let it happen. I quit focusing on the handicap and began appreciating the gift. It was a case of Christ's strength moving in on my weakness. Now I take limitations in stride and with good cheer. These limitations that cut me down to size, abuse, accidents, opposition, bad breaks, I just let Christ take over. And so the weaker I get, the stronger I become. Doesn't it sound just mind-blowingly like off a little bit? Like, wait a minute, the weaker I get, the stronger I become. God likes to flip things just on their head, doesn't He? We think that we need to be strong, we need to be successful, we need to be perfect Christians in this following of God and His ways. We need to be obedient in His ways, yes, but there's no way we can be perfect, because there's only one perfect one, and He took our place on a cross, and that's Jesus. So it just amazes me, though, just to read this again. With good cheer, these limitations that cut me down to size, abuse, accidents, opposition, bad breaks, I just let Christ take over. And so the weaker I get, the stronger I become. I could say that over and over again in this video, would hammer home the message just as much as I wanted to. But I want to include some other things. But I just think it's so great that the weaker I get, the stronger I become. Because we are channeling God to take over. As we think these things will handicap us, these limitations that we may have. Because we want to be perfect. We want to have perfect attendance. We want to be on the honor roll. We want to be at top of the food chain in our career. But that's not what it's about. And another devotional I've been reading that kind of talked about just how great this is, because there's something that Jesus did for us. We all know that He took the cross for our penalty of sin and rose again on the 3rd day, which I get so excited. I'm getting so excited for Easter. It's coming soon. And He is risen. He is risen indeed, and I cannot wait to celebrate Easter with my family and Gina's family as well. But I wanted to read this from this devotional that I've been reading. It says, because Jesus was strong for you, you're free to be weak. Because Jesus was someone, you're free to be no one. Because Jesus was extraordinary, you're free to be ordinary. Because Jesus succeeded for you, you're free to fail. Because Jesus won for you, you're free to lose. When truly considered, these are remarkably powerful words. They mean freedom, true freedom to the hearer. Now, just think of that. Like, because Jesus was strong for you, you're free to be weak. And because he succeeded for us in being the only sinless, spotless, perfect Son of God to take our place, the only perfect one to die for our sins, we're free to fail because he succeeded. So anytime we feel like we have to succeed, we know that Jesus has already succeeded. And it goes to say that it is finished. 3 words that I just love hearing, that it is finished. He has finished that work and done that for you. He's already succeeded, so we're free to fail. I used to always compare myself to my brother growing up and thought I always would have to follow in his footsteps, and it was tough, so tough to do because he was succeeded well more than I did, and I wasn't succeeding in the levels that he did. So I thought as I would fail, I was a failure. But now reading this, things like this remind me that the weaker I get, the stronger I become, because it turns me to God more and more for his strength. And another devotional here that just kind of hammers this home says, he is weak. He's talking about Samson here. He is weak, so are we. God promises in his Son to perfect his power in our powerlessness. So we can own our weakness. We'll find God's strength in it. So he says in this devotional that it's the profound truth of Christianity. Ours is a progress from strength to weakness, not weakness to strength. Samson's story shows us a profound truth of Christianity. Ours is a progress from strength to weakness, not weakness to strength. You see, it's not that we start weak and we get stronger. It's we start strong and become weaker because we start relying on our own strength. So we get weaker and weaker and weaker and know that we only can plug into the infinite power that God possesses. And before I wrap up, I want to say this other devotional that I've been reading, just to remind just of how living a life of faith, what it means. And this is from Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers. It says, living a life of faith means never knowing where you are being led. But it does mean loving and knowing the one who is leading. It is literally a life of faith, not of understanding and reason, a life of knowing Him who calls us to go. I just think, again, that's so amazing that the weaker we become, the stronger we get. So before you start thinking that you're a strong Christian and you're a strong prayer warrior, and again, in here, in this devotional, it says we're addicted to strength. We talk about having a strong faith. We look up to people who are strong, we believe are strong Christians. But nothing could be more off-putting or further from the gospel truth. And then, again, as I repeat over and over again, that in our weakness, God's strength is there. And we can embrace our weakness because God's power is in our powerlessness. So we can own our weakness. We can find God's strength in it. So as you go forth and finishing up this month, I just pray that you all just embrace and plug into God's power and embrace your weakness and find strength in Him alone. Thanks for watching, guys. This is all about me. Motivation, innovation, inspiration for you. I'm Tony Taylor. Have a good one.